Radio sHAZZBOT, Issue 03,
September 2024,
Post Office pUP,
Episode 0303.
Every single perfect people day.
or
Same old story. Killing time, have I wanted.
a 5-scene cartoon, improv radio, comics book video.
By J. Drewster Poindexter.
Episodes titles from Pennywise. About Time. 1995.
Scene 1,
Panel 1.
Kimmy.
Where have you been, Uncle Pup? I sent you to the grocery store for just 2 items, and that was 4 days ago. You know, it's funny how Star Wars never caught on like the Rocky Horror Dentist Show franchise did, with all the late-night crowds throwing tooths at the screen and dressing up like Frankensurgeon and whatnot. I wonder where Uncle Post Office Pup could be? You don't think he went to a late-night showing of the Rocky Horror Dentist Show, do you? It's almost 4 o'clock at night, and he said that he'd be back by 10 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was 4 days ago. He also said that there'd be no late-night dental equipment throwing for him anymore, that he learned his lesson from the x-rays the last time. Besides, there's 2 lanes of Hesher traffic jams coming out of the Science Friction Stadium for the Croaked Thunder Gyps Rock Concert Tour rally again tonight. Although I'm sure old Croaked Thunder Gyps is just playing the one actual hit wonder over and over again on the tour bus this morning. I hope that Uncle Pup didn't get mixed up in all that unruly ruckus. Well, give the people the governor that they deserve, and they'll always come back looking for more, like my Uncle Pup always used to say.
Panel 2.
Gertrude.
Well, don't write him out of the series too fast, Kimmy. I think that he's a lot more resourceful than all that. I mean, I know he's only your biological uncle, Kimmy. But I still don't see how you don't get all starstruck in traffic yourself with an uncle who used to be a famous celebrity TV star, like your Uncle Pup used to be. I mean, he used to be a famous TV actor, so he can pretty much write his own tickets. Can't he? Hey, I have an idea to get your mind off of waiting for your uncle. Let's do something crazy, Kimmy, and we can surprise your Uncle Post Office Pup, too. Let's walk down to that one Mumbles King hot dog restaurant, where the cooks where the cook cooks, those meatless plant-based hot dogs with that good movie theater-style butter cheese topping. I think that really skinny girl with all the face tattoos is cooking and mopping up the tabletops in the booths again tonight. And I'm not kidding. She always cooks those corn dogs to perfection. Some of the best meatless plant-based hot dogs with movie theater-style butter cheese toppings that I've ever had. And we can bring some back for your Uncle Post Office Pup. And soon he'll be back. And it'll give him that same old 5,000-yard stare again, Kimmy.
Panel 3.
Kimmy.
Meatless hot dog burgers. Didn't they accidentally put those kinds of restaurants out of business by outlawing them and giving the dispensary licenses to the bangers who originally built that industry in the first place? Just yet, Gertrude? Well, to eat his own, I suppose. Write what you know to be true, as the bard of Lisa Stansfield upon on-calling was once quoted as saying, "I won't feel bad if you want to go without me, Gertrude. But I think that I'm just going to sit here and eat cereal for dinner again tonight. They make these new cereals just for dinner these days. Cocoa Puff Cutlets, or Frankenberry Food Fillets, Yum, or Trix Ribeye Meatless Steaks, delightful. I could just eat all of these cereals for dinner at once tonight."
Gertrude.
Oh, I wasn't just virtue signaling with that idea, Kimmy. I was just spitballing some ideas around here. Really? Say, did my laundry get finished yet? Thanks for letting me put some stuff in the dryer, cousin. You know, no less than an authority than Jim Morristones once said. You know, I've noticed that when people are being funny, that they're usually pretty serious. And when they're being serious, they're usually pretty funny. Then he said, hey, let's just throw music journalists down the steps, and then go lie down in the street until the police come. So he was usually being a pretty funny guy with all that. Just stay off those drugs now, Kimmy. As Jim Morristones always used to say.
Panel 4.
Post Office pUP enters.
So there's 3.5 minutes that I'll never look at the same way again. Well, I know when I'm on America's most unwanted list, so I will see you all in the morning.
Kimmy.
Uncle Pup, where the F have you been? I sent you out to buy some more boxes of cereal for dinner, and that was 4 whole days ago. We were getting the worried unto death sickness about you. If Gertrude hadn't come over to put some things in the laundry, well, I was about to lose my sweet disposition and all of my religions, Uncle Pup. I don't mind saying.
Post Office pUP.
Well, they don't call it the extreme court because it comes with the added sour cream with it. Your haziness. Ha ha. For I am still drunk after all these days, and I am still stuffed full with piss and vinegar-flavored sour grapes. For my good buddy, Mr. Chesterfields, who I went out to get those breakfast cereal for dinner flakes with. If it please you, heinous heiress highness, your honor.
Panel 5.
Gertrude.
Wow, Kimmy, your Uncle Pup is really like a big deal show business celebrity on TV level drunk. I don't even know how you can even stand to speak to such a man of his brilliant stature. Can I have your autograph again, please, Mr. Post Office Pup? And this time I promise not to say what you're spelling, because this autograph is for my unborn grandchildren. Again, if you really need to know,
Kimmy,
I have never myself been an impressive person in this type of a situation, Uncle Pup. Basically, I'm going to bed, and without breakfast, cereal for dinner. Don't knock on my door unless my Rottweiler, Skittles is her name, in fact knows your name. And whatever you do, don't let my Rottweiler learn your name. Good night.
Panel 6.
Gertrude,
Well, I, for one, would like to know what you and Mr. Chesterfield have been up to for the last 4 days, Mr. Pop.
Post Office Pop.
Andy Serkis? Heck, if my girlfriend looked like Andy Serkis, I'd listen to her too, dude. Well, what's the point of someone else forgiving you if you can't forgive yourself, dude? And besides, they're only student loans anyway. But I suppose it's the principle that's placed on the interest of the matter that really matters, Gertrude. You sweet thing. Did you ever look up Google on Google.com, my dear? It'll really just give you a history of Google. But did you ever look up dictionary in a dictionary or the word encyclopedia in an encyclopedia? See then, you are in for a world-class world of sarcastic entertainment.
Gertrude,
Wowzers. You should have your own separate entry on WikiLeaks, Mr. Post Office Pop.
Scene 2.
Panel 1.
Post Office Pop. In voiceover,
It really was 4 days ago, Gertrude. Well, the infectious Groover's Farm film weather report did indicate on the funk metal radar said the traffic was going to be unusually well. You know, dangerous and funky. The other night. And my best neighbor, Mr. Chesterfield, had tickets to the local neighborhood gambling casinos, which is just a short walk for him here. So, where have I been for 4 days? Well, I mean, opinions are like F-holes on a guitar. Everybody's got one, really. But Mr. Chesterfield was just sure that we could win big at the local neighborhood gambling casinos this time out.
Post Office Pop. In voiceover,
So it all happened something like this.
Mr. Chesterfumes.
Hey, Post Office Pop. Thanks for agreeing to go with me to the local neighborhood gambling casino. You know, you weren't here, but last weekend I went to a weekend retreat at a resort. It was mind expanding, and now all of my middle school clothes fit again. And now I identify as a hot Buffalo Wing Episcopalian these days too. And I do think it's funny how everybody has a story anymore.
Panel 2.
Post Office Pop.
You're kind of a lot sometimes, Mr. Chesterfield. But you say that you've got tickets to the neighborhood gambling casino tonight?
Mr. Chesterfumes.
Hey, did you have the news on the Weekly Weird News website read to you yet today, Post Office Pop? It seems that an elderly woman found an 8-foot alligator in her bathtub. It was a local story, but this being the floor it does, well, nature of course took its course, and she put a ring on the poor frightened thing. And it seems that the now pregnant newlyweds are expected to honeymoon in her backyard tool shed during the next full moon at God plus America. Well, that's the expression that two carved into a nearby tree for their weekly Weird News wedding photos. Anyway, and they registered a wedding pattern at the World Health Organization too. Say, have you ever actually eaten roadkill, Post Office Pop? Supposedly eating leftover and left behind bear and alligator carcasses is a surefire, expressway to your skull method of getting brain worms. Can you imagine that, good buddy? Well, I still put my faith in our want-to-be elected officials. Don't you, Uncle Pop?
Panel 3.
Post Office Pop.
You're kind of a lot sometimes, Mr. Chesterfield. That alligator wedding story sounds kind of fishy and kind of anthropomorphologically impossible too, my fellow retail sales wars casualty, doesn't it though? But we don't want to go back to the bad old days of the Roe versus Dodd Championship Wrestling Battle Royals, do we? I wish the happy couple all the luck in the weekly weird news world, and that alligator humanoid hybrid baby makes 3, I suppose. I'm sorry, did you say anything that wasn't shocking and mildly disturbing news after that, Chesterfield? I was trying to look at this map in the dark. Well, according to the local legends, here we are at the neighborhood gambling casino. Did you remember to bring those admission tickets, young feller?
Mr. Chesterfumes.
I sure did, Pod Office Pop. And the kid is feeling hot tonight. And it's just the infectious Groover's weather forecast that predicted that the funky radar screening is looking unusually, well, you know, tight and groovy tonight. Hey man, that's why we do what we do. And can you dig it, Post Office Pop?
Panel 4.
Post Office Pop.
And so, soon, chronologically speaking,
Post Office Pop.
these Confederate brand local neighborhood gambling casinos, with their bright barred Bitcoin Brexit exit currency exchanges. It's hard to tell whether you're winning or losing any more or less with these new machines.
Attendant Security Rent-A-Car.
Is there some problem here, fellas? You know, you're here for those machines. Those machines aren't here for your entertainment. You boys are the product in this transaction, fellas. It ain't like it used to be, where the only way to bankrupt a gambling casino was to bet against the better interests of the house. But things have sure shortchanged since the new Republican mandates went into effect. You got some kind of an issue with this transaction. You consumer products, you? The corporation has to make a living wage too. You know.
Post Office Pop.
Oh, no problem here. Paulina Blart. rent a robot in a tuxedo. We were just out for our evening constitutional, and we figured that we'd try our luck, not press our luck, try our luck, at your fine dungeon of depravity. Come on, Mr. Chesterfield, let's move on to the craps portion of this event, and then we'll see if our luck can't change with some loose change women at the Texas Hold'em changing tables.
Panel 5.
And so sooner, chronologically speaking.
Even Stevens.
Bleep, bleep, bleep. Ha ha ha. That's it. That was exactly the wrong answer button that we're working with here tonight. But the trivial tonight in-house game show answer we were looking for was, what is the fallacy of proximity? Aristotle and his silly syllogisms was of course the category. What is the fallacy of proximity? Well, no points with that one, but your point is certainly taken. And thanks for playing anyway. Most people just wander off with a befuddled look on their face and a lot less money in their pockets after a big loss like that one. Any advice for your fans? Haha, don't try this at home. Roger Wilco from Los Alamos, Cartoonfornia. Thanks again for playing. And so it's thanks so much for playing all the way into our second round here at the Trivial Tonight in-house game show. I'm Even Stevens and I'll be your local neighborhood game show host for this evening. Because that's my pseudonym, of course. Do we have any other potential contestants in the audience here tonight? Boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen of all ages.
Even Stevens.
Ah, you there. You look like Scooby's Droopy's brother-in-law, Scrappy Dote, after a hard day's drunk of pilfered Scrappy snacks here tonight, sir. One of Jerry's kids, are you? Haha, another talking dog. You're our fourth one this half hour. Can you state your name and where you're from and where you're at this evening, so to speak, sir?
Post office pop.
Who me? Look, I'm just here to win back all the money that I just lost at the craps table and to meet a couple of lucky girls. I'm by no means a fully qualified professional, Trivial Tonight, in-house game show contestant. I'm just another talking dog archetype, really.
Panel 6.
Even Stevens.
Ha ha ha, you got it. Thanks, pal. And the straw's in the bag. Right, big fella. Ha ha ha. Well, the thermal information infotainment scan that the authorities ran on you when you walked into this part of the neighborhood gambling casino building states that you used to be famous. Isn't that right, buddy? Oh, a child animal actor, huh? It says here that you used to star as pOSToFFICE pup on something called a TV network. On a TV series called Different Facts, it says here. This goes way back before the content platforms of today, boys and girls, and ladies and gentlemen of all ages. Stay with me here. Ha ha ha.
Even Stevens.
And these must be your lovely dates for this evening, Penelope and Veronica. They're computer dating apps, and they're here not to foul, spindle, and mutilate you, haha, but to give you a weekend of ultimate pleasure. You've won at the demographics, boys, and the statistics do not lie. Like the late great Ray Stevens once sang, computers don't make mistakes.
Post office pop.
But, we were just looking to put a smile on the faces of some of the local girls. We never signed up for any of all of this.
Mr. Chester Fumes.
Hi, Vero, Napi. Hi, Pennell, Ika.
Stephen Evans.
Oh, come on now, boys. Computers don't make mistakes. Once again, the answer we were looking for before was, what is the fallacy of proximity? You've won this all expenses paid longest weekend of your lives ever, here at the neighborhood gambling casinos. And just look at these robot hookers, boys. Well, that's just the way that things work here at our Trivial Tonight in-house game show. Mr. Chester Fumes and Mr. POSToFFICE pup, don't blow it with these professional girls. Don't make this thing turn ugly. The girls here still have 6 more years of robot law school to pay for. Ha ha ha.
Scene 3.
Panel 1.
Post office pop. In voiceover.
Now, Gertrude, we went to jail overnight for these alleged improprieties with these sex robots, and through no fault of our own either. But it wasn't anything that we did wrong, per se. The gambling casino wanted to charge us for breach of contract because Mr. Chester Fumes and I never really wanted to do our carrying on with these sex robots. They called it a breach of an implied contract. T was all a frame-up and just a massive publicity stunt, really.
Gertrude.
Gosh, Mr. POSToFFICE pup, but you're so wonderful and so full of integrity that I can't imagine someone as amazing as you ever getting mixed up in some kind of a publicity stunt. Tell me more about your heroic and exciting adventures with the local neighborhood gambling casino. Did they take you to a local court over this breach of contract farce? What a sham. The diabolical fiends themselves. Tee. I heard that dialogue on a recent episode of Cops and Robbers. Comedians driving around in police cars and trying out the decaf.
Panel 2.
Post office pop.
Well, you do know, Gertrude, that a man of my stock and trade resides ever indifferent to the laws and regulations of love, or even to the inner workings of the local ordinances that apply to sex robot laws, at least as they apply here, in Los Alamos, Cartoonfornia. But that's a little besides the point. Sex with a robot? Yup, that would be like having sex with one of JD Fandango's fold-out living room sofa sleeper couches, or one of his Ottoman Empire Section 8 perversions or something. There's just more to life than sex with a sex robot for me, you know? D. That game show host, Even Stevens in his entourage, had told Mr. Chester Fumes and I that it was T-minus 10 minutes to curtain call. And I just told them that they'd have to count me out. But they do have a sizable web presence, however, my dear. If you like that sort of thing, doll face. And I guess it was by then that they had already declared their intentions. Well, let's get on with the flashback. Gertrude, as I recall, it went a little something like this.
Panel 3.
Court announcer.
Hearsay, hearsay. Step right up. Small claims breach of contract court will now come to order, with the Honorable Judge Christmas Tree Shapiro residing. All rise up and place your bets now.
Judge Shapiro.
Good morning, campers, and ladies and gentlemen of all ages and income ranges and different IQ brackets. Read the case before the court if you would, Mr. Court Announcer.
Panel 4.
Court announcer.
Hold on. Just let me finish this. Well, I'll be Dange Brown. Conspiracy novel first. Okie there. So it was to that deep Grinch McMuffin buried in the back pages of the Dr. Seuss desk-referenced children's book. And it was all downhill racing snow sledded together at the last minute in the in-between pages of the last 3 Well, I'll be Dange Brown novels. So that's really the hambungler accusing the hamburglar, isn't it? Well, dang me, dang me. Someone ought to get a rope and hang me out to dry the next time instead. I should have seen that one coming, really. Or, conspiracy theories really were a lot more fun before everybody and his crazy ex-brother-in-law started to get all mixed up and involved in them. Okie, so anyway. So it is alleged, Your Honor, that the defendant and his cohort refused to fulfill the requirements given in an implied contract between the local neighborhood gambling casino and the alleged perpetrators of the breach of contract in this case. Your Honor, the two gentlemen refused to take a photo ops with the sex robots for our online website presence, Your Honor.
Panel 5.
Judge Shapiro.
And will the attorneys representing the local neighborhood gambling casino, the attorneys from the law office of sHAZZBOT, Fluky, and Glumco LLC, please approach the bench to give their opening statements.
Now, sHAZZBOT, Fluky, and Glumco, those names sound more like extreme court justice brat certainly have had enough old high school drinking and weight staffing buddies. But you guys really are practicing attorneys now, aren't you? Or should I pull your background checks and see if this is just another one of the extreme court's practical jokes as part of some kind of hazing ritual? Or is it?
Schmoopy.
We're sorry, Your Honor. And it is all just a practical joke as some part of a hazing ritual with brats certainly have had enough old high school drinking and weight staffing buddies. But you should have seen the look on your face. Your Madame Judgeship. We really had you going there for a while, didn't we?
Panel 6.
Judge Shapiro.
Well, next time, boys, why not try the cretins list, legal notices, classified section first?
Maybe you can waste their time first next time, instead of wasting the time of this courtroom.
There's all kinds of decadent debauchery and depravity on the cretins list, legal notices, classified section. But I'm going to have to hold you, Mr. Chester Fumes and Mr. Post Office Pup, in contempt of court instead. To sort of advance the plot, such as it is, anyway. Do you have any closing statements to make? There, the attorneys from the law offices of sHAZZBOT, Fluky, and Glumco LLC. See, this court is a little slammed and backlogged with cases, and your name is at the top of the paperwork, so your types usually win in this sort of a fast turnover courtroom hearing type thing anyway.
Schmoopy.
Oh, closing statements, huh? I think I heard about that once on that Cops and Robbers. Comedians in police cars getting decaffeinated TV content platform one time recently. Okay, here it goes. Spoiler alert. Just because we just had to ruin it for you, Mr. Courtroom Announcer. See, in that, well, I'll be Dange Brown, conspiracy procedural fantasy literature that you're reading. Okay, here it goes. The publisher did it.
Mr. Chester Fumes.
And by the way, unchallenging, Mr. Courtroom Announcer. Okay, so you're saying that, well, I'll be Dange Brown, conspiracy theory fantasy novels are unchallenging, and all the same now, Mr. Courtroom Announcer, just like they always used to be? Well, the idea is that it's a decent mystery saga that was written for 70-year-olds of all ages. Well, maybe there's no scientific curiosity left inside of you. Instead, Mr. Courtroom Announcer. And these are their stories.
Scene 4.
Panel 1.
Commercial. Donald's Juniors.
Would you buy a used Bible from this man? Hi, I'm Donald's Juniors, weekend Bible salesman and weekend father. Say, even the few weekend Bible thumpers who can read more than a rock salt gunpowder recipe into the Holy Scriptures without a little league life coaching themselves, must themselves someday come to realize that both the con man and the promise grabber must someday lie down together, and then both get up with fleas as well. With our new incredible reproduction of the White Belt Judeo X-Mass Bible, the King Donald Bible, both the con man and the promise grabber could finally lie together, and guilt-free too. And it's all yours, beautifully wrapped for only $60 a pop. Or buy two and save. The love you conserve might be yours to own, in this bountiful volume that you'll never read anyway. Well, at least he knows what we mean anyway. Stay tuned and stand by for unconditional savings and details on how you can get your hands on this incredible Weekend Bible. Available from the fearless folks at Weekend Bible Industries. Do today.
Panel 2.
Kimberly Wergild foiled.
You'll feel the need to spread them. Your own wings, that is. And watch yourself ascend as you spend the minutes that might actually turn into hours, pretending that you're preparing for the hereafter in your own spare time, and in the luxury and infinity of your own private Idaho space of the vastness of reality. Pretend that you're the one who's really rich. In spirit anyway, just like the big shots. With your very own wallpaper and the asylum quality copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of this incalculatable King Trump classic version of this classic document. It's an indescribable reclamation and a bad reincarnation of the original, genuine, Dark Night of the Souls. And this timeless book of faith, and not always fact, can be yours now, for one incredibly low price. Secure your copy of a copy of a copy of a copy today. The same book that shiftless, hapless, down on their hope, drifters like yourselves have probably already been turning to for decades in the so-called real world, can provide you with a peace of mind and a real sobriquet at hotel, motel, art fair, rest stops, still existent Howard Johnson's restaurants, the failing KKK camping resorts, and Air D&D's Clayway stations for 2,000 plus years to come. Get yours now, and prepare for all the elongated, hardened, dark age decades left to come.
Panel 3.
Donald's Juniors.
That's right, Kimberly Wergild foiled. Remember, sometimes the rust is often the only thing holding that car together. But for a limited time only, we'll let you have it with this formerly free document for only $60. And don't forget to smash the election button and check out King Donald's merchandise booth. Plus, if you act now, we'll also send you a non-debatable comma and hyphen-free reproduction of that other freethinker's Bible, the USA Constitution. Hey, why get it for free when you can instead pay big money for it? And pay more for it a little later, too. If you're one of those Philistines who didn't take money from the Donald in his consumer rebate offer from year 2 or the last time, now's your chance to take something of real value from the Donald that won't make you feel like one of his prostitutes. You'll get the King Donald version of the Bible, the debate-free Constitution, and the peace of mindfulness in knowing that there are no other options, because of course there are no other valid forms of religion.
Kimberly Wergild foiled.
That's right, Donald's Juniors. Just send 3 easy payments of $19.99 to Projects 1984, Post Office Box Y2K, still at that last carry White House on the left, Mine Suite, Wyoming 32,323. And don't forget, the love you can serve might be yours to own, and yours alone. Do today. But just between you and me, all you divinity school students, the Calamites lived among the Israelites, and many of them were one and the same with the historical Israelites. There's DNA evidence now. Just look it up if you don't believe us. Hey, it'll be our little secret, all you divinity school students.
Announcer.
So that number again, Project 1984, Post Office Box Y2K, still at that last carry White House on the White, Mine Suite, Wyoming 32,323, and it says here, please allow 6 or 8 epochs for deliverance. And for this I spent 2 months in broadcast journalism school in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Panel 4.
And later, back at and Kimmy's and Post Office Pup's mobile home double-wide trailer on the outskirts of Los Alamos, Cartoonfornia.
Gertrude.
Gosh, that's terrible. What happened after that, Mr. Post Office Pup? Did they really hold you and Mr. Chesterfumes in contempt of court in breach of contract small claims court? And just because the local neighborhood gambling casino had their name on the top of the courtroom paperwork, I thought you were just a little bit more famous than all of that. Mr. Post Office Pup. And did they really hold the two of you as prisoners in county lockup for, like, 4 days? And on some kind of fake law officers of Schmoopy, Frookie, and Glumco LLC drunked up charges for contempt of court. But I thought they had the no-fault justice proceedings in Los Alamos cartoon fauna. Maybe I should wake up Kimmy and tell her the bad news. Maybe all is not as it appears to be on Cops and Robbers. Comedians driving around in police cars just trying out the decaf.
Panel 5.
Post Office Pup.
Well, Gertrude, at my age, it seems like you could just hitchhike back to the distant past some days. And yet, on other days, it seems like you're now far too many decades removed from back when you could just hitchhike to anywhere. It's all right. Wake her up if you want to. I've really just been rehearsing for what I'm going to tell her when she wakes up anyways. But it all just seems like it all happened to someone else maybe only a few hours ago, to be perfectly honest with you. Here, let me rehearse the story I'm going to tell my favorite niece Kimmy for a little while longer while I sober up some more. Well, Gertrude, it was another one of those lost weekends in a holding tank holding cell for Mr. Chester Fumes and I. But it was really nothing new, actually. Some people think it's important to stay in touch with your inner gangster, Gertrude, my dear. But I think it's important to stay in touch with your inner mod, ska post-punk enthusiast drummer. Hey, I should give that player a call sometime soon. Really.
Panel 6.
Gertrude.
Well, I don't see how a lost weekend in county lockup can be taken so lightly by an older post-celebrity. Cartoon dog like yourself and your friend, Mr. Chesterfields. Mr. Post Office Pup. I don't even see how that's even physiologically possible. In fact, the whole thing sounds a little anthropomorphologically impossible. And it even sounds just a little bit fishy to me. Mr. Post Office Pup.
Post Office Pup.
I'll be honest with you, Gertrude. That last explanation of my missing 4-day weekend might have had a bit of a writer's embellishment to it. If it was a movie, I know that you'd have seen better films on dental charts. Or maybe on avalanche-tinted sunscreen minivans in a disaster movie or something. Dollface. But here's an explanation of that last 4-day weekend that will really bring the Shelty and Wall Dog Hotel guests and theater patrons out of you, Gertrude. It defies plausibility too, and the gravity of the situation as well. But it should at least leave no doubt as to the sanity of your friend's unreliable narrator, Uncle. Well, let's see now. Where did we leave off? That is, after we left off in the courtroom scene.
Scene 5.
Panel 1.
Commercial. First announcer.
Mankind has reached his zenith of achievement. He or she has reached his or her most extraordinary possible level of obtainable wonderfulness. And all that with one simple advancement in car wax idealization. And the new Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax is just that such of an achievement. We have, each one of us, evolved to humankind's greatest apotheosis of development, or at least one that is humanly or heavenly possible. Things simply could not possibly get any better with this, the greatest of all possible moments in humankind's evolution. And the new Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax is just that such an achievement.
Second announcer.
You simply couldn't imagine things possibly being even capable of getting any better. And after only one simple application of the new Candide by Voltaire, Yertle Wax stuff too.
First announcer.
Well, except for all of the war, disease, horror, and mayhem that currently plagues the human condition, of course. But setting aside all of that, and all of the corporate greed and consumer brainwashing, and if you can get past the office politics and the lack of individual employment opportunities that are only inevitable outcomes without adequate union representation, and all of the insensitive racial profiling and stereotyping that goes on at both sides of the counter at your local factory, farm, cube kiosk, or your local Sevenfold Path auto parts center, where this Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax, this shite, is exclusively available.
Panel 2.
First announcer.
But you know, thinking about it, for like just one gloriously incandescent moment of clarity here. And I just had a moment of clarity just last month, so I really think I know what I'm talking about here. Look, I'm just this one omniscient sounding radio content announcer. I can't know everything. I can't be everywhere. Well, not in any real sense anyway, whispered. And I think I'm having a nervous breakdown just thinking about it all.
Second announcer.
That's Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax.
Panel 3.
First announcer.
This is where it ends. And so this is where my broadcast journalism career has dropped me off at. I'll lose this job, and now I'll lose my job with Weekend Bible Industries too. I'll lose everything. There'll be no need for Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax where I'm going. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye. Well, at least I might get a few restless weeks of sleep and recreation at my local sanitarium out of the deal. So I guess I still got that going for me anyway. Farewell, all you lucky so and so's out there in radio listener land. Adieu, adieu. And this is all the thanks that I get.
Second announcer.
Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax. Available exclusively at all Sevenfold Path Auto Parts Centers.
Third announcer. Even Stevens.
Warning, health risk. Do not use Candide by Voltaire Yertle Wax indoors or near wildlife, or if you have a history of inhalant-based hallucinations. may cause severe paranoia and symptoms of nervous breakdown in omniscient-sounding radio content announcers. Use only as directed.
First announcer.
There, can you hear the sirens? You know, when you're over 30 and you start hearing ambulance sirens, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should become an EMT. They're coming to take me away, ha ha hee ho ho, to my local neighborhood community health intake services location, where life is happy all the time.
Panel 4.
And meanwhile, back at that same later, only a little while after Kimmy has been woken up one too many times by all the talking and commotion in the living room of Kimmy and Post Office Pup's double-wide mobile home trailer.
Kimmy.
While you two were busy with your Grace finds beauty in ugly things banter rhetoric seminar, I took the liberty of waxing the kitchen floor. I hope you two don't mind, but I was listening in on your conversation the whole time. Hey, careful. Don't slip on my newly waxed floor. I also hope you don't mind that I looked up the local sheriff's department criminal verification hotline on the interwebs, and it looks like you and Mr. Chesterfumes were in county lockup custody for 4 days total. I'm sorry, I doubted you. But how did you stay drunk for so long?
Post Office Pup.
Well, as hard to imagine as it might seem, we hadn't been drinking for the whole 4 days. When we got out of county lockup just this morning, Mr. Chesterfumes convinced me that after the breach of contract courtroom hearing, we should go back to the local neighborhood gambling casino and give them a piece of our minds and try to win some of our tasered reputations. Back here, it went something like this.
Panel 5.
Gertrude.
Now hold on. No more flashbacks tonight. I don't want to listen to any more of your prefabrications, Mr. Post Office Pup. And I don't think that your niece Kimmy here wants to hear any more of them either. You're flabbergasted old sot, and my laundry is finished in the dryer. If you still want me to hero worship you in the morning, I think we should all think about getting some sleep tonight.
Kimmy.
Now you be careful, Gertrude. You know how he is when he's been getting into his water dishes. When Post Office Pup gets plastered and annihilated like he is now, he doesn't understand English, and he won't very easily listen to reason. He's like a different anthropomorphological cartoon doggy entirely. But he does pick up on a few buzzed words, but he just reacts to those few buzzed words in an overly excited fashion.
Panel 6.
Post Office Pup.
Ah, come on, Kimmy. Same recognizes same. As game recognizes game. When I get a little flabbergasted, it's more like a kind of Rorschach test. Really. It takes on the kind of atmosphere where it's forever changing its impression. And you could look at it again in 6 months, and it might give off an entirely different meaning. And then give off a completely different impression, too. Say, I just got finished reading in one of Mr. Chesterfield's recent weekly Weird News issues. And one of the articles says that this current bad guy governor is responsible for creating more radicalized and more woke suburban housewives than any other wannabe nasty dictator in Los Alamos, Cartoonfornia history. That does require a little suspension of disbelief, I suppose. But then, I voted for the current president because I thought he'd be against change. I've made the decision. I'm going to beat these crooks at their own game. I'm going to get involved in the local politics.
Kimmy.
You. Same old Uncle Pup. Now that's the Post Office Pup that I remember.
Gertrude.
Can I have your autograph again, please? Mr. Post Office Pup.
Next episode.
It's what you try with it, do. Not a way for searching. Freebase.
Blur.
Peaceful Waste. Day of Time.
Copyrights 2024. Thanks and respect to Pennywise. About Time. 1995. Epitaph Recordings. For the episode titled Anagram Mashups.